S. Dolkart, author of the Godserfs trilogy, which I like to call theological epic fantasy. The trilogy begins with Silent Hall, when 5 teenagers leave their homeland on a boat the day before a divine plague wipes out its other inhabitants. So they're forced to wander the continent as refugees while they figure out which god has it in for them and come up with a plan B for their lives. The gods here are active and violent and often in conflict, but they also rarely explain themselves. So theology is a high-stakes, cutting-edge field. That having been said, most of humanity just tries to appease their gods and keep out of the way as much as possible. I'm going to read you a passage from the second book, Among the Fallen, in which one of these teenagers, Narki, has been appointed the next high priest of a god named Ravenus by a high priestess who just went and intentionally martyred herself. He has fled from the city of Ardis and come to the neighboring city of Anardis in hopes of running a sort of church in exile, while the followers of a god named Magor kill off most of the people he left behind. So that's fun. With him is his wife from a marriage arranged without his consent, who he only just started getting along with. She's a true believer, while he, the high priest, is a cynic, and he honestly thinks he was chosen by mistake. The people Narki is talking to at the start of this passage are fellow worshippers of Ravenus who have traveled to Anardis to ask him what to do about the people who've been rounding up and executing them back home. So Narki told them to go back, and to keep converting their friends and neighbors in secret. Yes, many of them would be captured and killed, but Ravenus would watch over them in the underworld, and he would favor all those who had died in his name. He told them to show no fear, no matter what happened. Life was short. Ravenus was eternal. His followers loved that. He wished he did too. It was wrong of the graceful servant, wrong of Ravenus, to make Narki his high priest. Narki was a coward and a coward's son, a man who would never give his life voluntarily for any cause. Ravenus was forever, yes, but life was now. How could such a man be asked to send people to their deaths, to encourage them to love their deaths? It was too cruel, to them and to Narki too. But this was what his god demanded of him, and he could not shirk his duty. He'd had Ravenus angry at him before, and didn't ever want to put himself in that position again. If only the priests of Elkanah had been able to grant their support and not just their neutrality, Narki might have felt he could send his followers back to Anardis as the vanguard of an army instead of as martyrs. He must try to convince them. It might be hard, but the options didn't get any easier from there. It was certainly better than the graceful servant's path. This time, when he and Terra visited the temple of Elkanah, Narki did not shy away from theological debate. They were all sitting crowded around the library table, sipping a strong wine that had been donated to the temple, when Narki asked, "Have you ever wondered why there haven't been any real fights between the followers of Ravenus and the followers of Elkanah? A new god has come to power here in Anardis, but Elkanah doesn't seem to mind." "Well," said Mother Denendra, "I don't mind taking a little bit of credit now and then. I've practically encouraged Magor's followers to turn to Ravenus as a secondary god, once it became clear that they would not turn over their whole being to Elkanah. Magor always satisfied people's needs for a god of power and domination, and Elkanah was never one to fill that role. Our priests are healers and midwives, and our god a sustainer of balance. Let Magor's place be filled by your god. As long as there is life-sustaining balance, Elkanah can never be threatened. That was my theory, anyway." "Are you saying you think your god has stepped aside to let Ravenus in, just because Elkanah hasn't historically been the only god of Anardis? Why shouldn't he try to take more?" "Because taking more is not Elkanah's way," Father Cephas scolded. "He is not some crafty nobleman, always maneuvering for more power. All of life is his domain." Narki snorted. "In one breath, you say that he has no interest in power, and then you turn around and say he's in charge of all of life. If claiming all of life as your domain isn't maneuvering for power, what is?" Mother Denendra's countenance hardened. "Have you come today to insult Elkanah in his own temple?" That stopped Narki short. Why was he so bad at this? He was trying to build a theological argument for a pre-existing alliance between Ravenus and Elkanah, one that he thought was really good, and his base rudeness was getting in his way. Even Terra was staring at him, aghast. She hadn't understood what he was trying to do either. He'd done a truly terrible job of explaining himself. His mistake was that in his attempt to point out how welcoming Elkanah had been to them, he hadn't expected Cephas to push back against the very notion of godly ambition. That had thrown him off, and he had fallen back on his usual argumentative style. Idiot. If he was going to make this work, he had to control himself. "I'm sorry," he said. "I haven't come to insult Elkanah, but to exalt him for the warm welcome he's shown to me and my God. I only meant to say that Elkanah didn't have to be so welcoming. He could have tried to take Magor's role by himself and become the only god of Anardis. Instead, he and his servants have welcomed us into his city and even into his house, this temple. I meant to express my gratitude." "You are young," Mother Denendra said indulgently. "Tact is not one of the strengths youth has over age." Narki nodded, relieved. "Thank you. You're absolutely right." Father Cephas waved a hand. "Go on, then. Let's start from the point you were trying to make." Narki looked to Terra for strength and tried to regain his composure. "Well," he said, "in any case, Elkanah could have made a play for sole patron of Anardis, but he didn't. You might say that's because ambition isn't in his nature, but I think he's been uniquely welcoming to Ravenus. I can't imagine that he'd have supported, say, Atun if the sun god had tried to capitalize on Magor's weakness here." "Perhaps not," Denendra conceded. "I think it's not a matter of Elkanah lacking for ambition. I think he wants Ravenus here." "You think they are allies," Father Cephas concluded. "Yes, Narki, we've heard this from you before. You even make a very good case for it." "That's not what I'm saying," Narki said, to his own surprise. "I'm saying they're the same god." The room went silent. Narki closed his eye and waited. Would Ravenus slay him for saying what he'd just said? Would Elkanah? What had possessed him to say such a thing? He was practically begging the gods to smite him. Nothing happened. Narki opened his eye. They were all staring at him. Of course they were. "What?" Terra asked. "I think," Narki said, and stopped. His hands were shaking. "I think that may have been a prophecy." "What do you mean?" asked Father Taman. No god had smitten him yet. How could he make sense of this? "I don't think those were my words," he said. "I mean, I said them, but they just came to me as I was saying them, and they haven't killed me yet. Is it possible that Ravenus and Elkanah are one and the same?" "We've had no reason to think so," said Father Cephas, "up until now." "But it's possible." "Anything is possible if the gods say it." "No," Narki said. "I mean, yes, but I think it's plausible, too. When I was with the other islanders, two gods were clearly guiding us, Ravenus and Eramia. We had no idea why those two should be allies, but Eramia and Elkanah are brother and sister, right? If Ravenus is Elkanah, the alliance makes perfect sense. When my friends and I came here to Anardis, it was the priest of Elkanah who took us in and sheltered us before Bestelos invaded. It was Elkanah's sister Eramia who gave us what we needed to find the dragon's prisoner and rescue him, and to destroy the armies of Magor and Maiar. I think this really is a prophecy. I think Elkanah is the sole god of Anardis. We've just been worshipping his two halves. Their domains are perfectly complementary. Keeper of fates, god of birth, death, and rebirth, god of the life cycle, god of the underworld. They're the same god." "If what you say is true," Cephas asked, "how could Magor not have known it? Why should he and Elkanah live in peace, even as Magor sent Bestelos to destroy La'arna?" Narki began, but he had no answer. Nothing beyond the fact that he had said the two gods were one, and neither had killed him for it. "I don't know," he finished. "Thank you, Narki," Mother Denendra said, indicating the end of his visit. "You have given us a lot to discuss. It will take much more than an evening, I think, to tease out the various implications of what you have said tonight. It may be too early to assume that neither god has taken offense, but if in a week's time you still have not been punished, we may have to accept that both Elkanah and Ravenus endorse your statement. Hopefully, by then, we will have arrived at a good theological explanation." They bowed to their hosts and left, still trying to process what had been said. "She's being too cautious," Tara said during their walk home. "Ravenna spoke through you. Anyone could see that." "Not everyone, I guess. And she's right that I didn't have all the answers. I don't think it'll hurt for them to spend a week figuring out what all this means." Tara's mouth twisted, and making sure that Elkanah remains the dominant half here in Enardis. "You think so?" That gave him a lot to think about. Tara didn't stumble into her words the way he did. She always thought before she spoke. If she thought that power hunger played a role in Mother Denendra's thinking, she wasn't just saying so reflexively. Tara gave him a look that expressed just how naive his question sounded. "She has a priesthood to protect." "You're probably right," he said, when they got indoors. "And she'd be wise to make sure of it, really. Who knows if what I said tonight was even true?" Tara stopped dead, one hand already reaching for the door of their bedroom. "Are you telling me you were lying?" He shook his head. "Of course not. Ravenna's put those words in my mouth, I'm sure of that much. But what if he was lying? For all I know, the two of them have been separate gods all along, and now he's trying to swallow Elkanah while he's got the chance. The gods can shield us from each other. If this is a surprise attack, Elkanah won't be able to smite me unless he wins the struggle with Ravenna first." "Narki!" she cried. "Do you even know what you're saying?" He smiled. "You're only just getting to know me, Tara. This is how I talk." "But you're accusing your own god of treachery. You're his high priest, Narki. You can't go saying—" "Do you think I know how all this works?" Narki snapped. "I'm 17, Tara, for God's sake. I'm not a theologian, and I was nobody's holy man until the graceful servant told me I was going to be high priest. I'm just trying to figure out the truth for myself, and to follow Ravenna's path wherever he leads me. If he's been Elkanah all along, great! If he's trying to usurp and co-opt him, that's fine by me too. Ravenna is my god, no matter what. But until he gives me clear guidance, I have to make guesses and talk these ideas through so I can figure out what I'm going to do about it. If he has a problem with that, he can send me a clear message for once and tell me what to do." Tara was staring at him silently, her expression inscrutable. He wished he knew what she was thinking. "I don't know what's going on right now," he admitted. "And if you want to know what I think, it's that we'll never really know. If Ravenna swallows Elkanah, there will be no way to know for sure that they weren't the same god all along. I think Mother Denendra is right to be wary of my prophecy. Our gods might be united, but they also might be fighting in a life-or-death struggle as we speak, in which case Elkanah can't afford for his own high priestess to give up on him. She can't trust me. She's doing the right thing for her god." He could tell that Tara didn't agree with him about something, but about what? Why wasn't she saying anything? I don't know," he sputtered on, unable to stop talking. "Maybe it's over already. Maybe they weren't the same god before, but they are now. The thing is, if it is a fight, and the fight isn't over, this could get really ugly. Even if Ravenna can shield me from other divine powers, an independent Elkanah might be able to tell Mother Denendra the truth, assuming for now that the truth is different from what I said it was." At this, Tara finally spoke. "Stop doubting yourself, and stop doubting your god. Ravenna doesn't lie, Narki." He shrugged. "Ravenna made the world think he was dead, then wormed his way into Magor's territory and started undermining him from within. He made me shoot a man in the back, or at least rewarded me for doing it myself. You can say that Ravenna doesn't lie, but what do we know? No straightforward, honorable god would have chosen me for his high priest." So we're going to end it there. I hope you enjoyed that. It gives you kind of a taste of what the series is all about. And we didn't have too many interruptions from the kids, so we're good. Happy reading.